I usually, I give a little talk about Kermit Crandall Park being named after one of our well-known town managers. I think he was a town manager for a number of years. He named the park after him. Well-liked man. This is where we're starting off from, Kermit Crandall Park. We're going to head downstream, this Millinocket stream. Head down, eventually it will flow into the west branch of the Penobscot. Nice headwind this morning, probably over 65 degrees. I usually have a marker, this rock sticking out of the water. I usually kind of gauge the flow of the river by that rock right there. It's underwater. I know there's over probably a couple hundred CFS coming down Millinocket Stream. That rock is sticking way out of the water. It's probably closer down around 75 CFS, which is probably normal flow after spring runoff. And I think it's a guaranteed run down Millinocket Stream is at least 75 CFS. That's my marker rock. And a lot of times you'll see a painted turtle on that rock too, sunning itself. Always usually a turtle when the sun comes out nice and bright. Coming on the Granite Street Bridge. Here on our right, we're going by what used to be the old engineering research or E&R building. It is now the brick building. Coming along a little lately, on our left, river left, one of the oldest settlements in Millinocket. Established when they brought the Italians in to build the mill in the later part of the 18th century, early part of the 19th century. Did all the brickwork for the original mill. People who were building the mill or designing the mill picked Italians because they were good stone masons. Yes, yeah. A couple local people there in Little Italy have a boat launch here. It's pretty accessible right now because of high water, but when it dries up, it's pretty hard to launch a boat there. But there's as much water they're putting down here right now, it's pretty good. The company put this footbridge in early on, I think in the build. These old grindstones are some of the first grindstones that when they used to grind up 2-foot wood, and now they do 4-foot wood. But they use them old grindstones to support this footbridge from the Little Italy into the mill. And them stones are probably close to 75 years old, or not old, if not older. They don't, before they stopped grinding wood, they went to a 4-foot grindstone, and I'll point some of them out as we get downriver. As we get down into the mill, you can see the penstocks coming out, which what used to be the grinder room where they ground the wood up with them stones that we just went by. And you can see that the mason work, the stone work that the Italians did, highly skilled work. They have arches there. You don't see much of that type of work anymore. Your masonry work now is more on how many bricks you can lay in one day versus how intricate a pattern you can lay out. These guys who did that all did that by hand, and they had to break them bricks to shim them down to get them, to make the arch. They did that all by hand. They didn't have no no towel saws like they do today. All that stuff was all done by hand tools. An eye, you know, they look at it and say, okay, I need you to take this much off, and either they scribed it or just did it by eye and chiseled it away and put it in place. We'll get up pretty close to that. I'm going to go right into that faster water, and you get a pretty good close-up of the type of stonework that they did, you know, over 100 years ago. This is the old boiler house here, where this stack is here on our right. That was several coal boilers in there. There used to be 2 stacks there, and back, I believe, in the 60s, they brought one down, and they never did take this other stack down, but they haven't used this coal boiler in, I'd say, since the 50s. They use a steam plant, oil-fired boiler now. But this used to be, it's a warehouse now, but they used to be a coal boiler. You can see up in back of the old grinder room, the new boiler house, that stack is up there. They put that up, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s. That stack is 300 foot high. Up into that tunnel, up into that penstock, you can see that brickwork goes all the way around that arch. That's the type of work they did, you know, the masons did, the Italians did back in the, you know, when they built this. This is probably one of the first structures beside the boiler house that they built back in 1899, 1900. This was a grinder room. There was 6 grinder lines. This being on the left, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And this down here was a generator room, is what they call the generator room. They just generate electricity. Now, back in '94, they did away with the pulp mill. They turned all this into generate, so they just generate electricity here now. See, Danny, here on our left is one of the newer types of grindstones. I say newer. The 4-foot stone were the ones on that bridge abutment down back there was 2 foot. Them are put together in segments. Just behind this bush over here, Danny, you're going to see the remnants of an old truck dump with the tires on the back of it. It's where they dumped. They back a pulp truck in there with 4-foot wood on it, and that would lift it right up in the air, and the wood would slide off the back end of it. Trees are growing up through it now, but everything's still there. The hydraulics, the pistons, and the whole works is still left right there. Then secure the pulp truck, then lift it up in the air, you know, it tilted back far enough that all the 4-foot wood would slide right off the back of it. These are all storage tanks for different types of stock. Some of the ones in the back are for the grinder room, which they don't use anymore. Some of these may be for chemical storage, like this green one down here is the chemical storage for the coda. The majority of these are a stock tank of some type, with the ones in the background with the domes on them. We're going under the pipeline. This pipeline is right encased in this is the pipeline that goes to East Millinocket. Actually, they used to pump sulfite into that down East Millinocket. Now what they do is they pump groundwood from East Millinocket up to here. They also, the gas line, the propane line for the coda runs in that too. Still see parts of the old mill. They used the brick, the red brick. All that is everything that's got red brick is the old part of the mill. And then as they started adding on this red stuff here houses a coda, the blade coda, which I believe they put in in the 50s. It was quicker, probably cheaper to use this type of structure versus laying all that brickwork. Probably even faster to put that up versus laying all that brick. Also, some parts of that is a train shed where they bring chemicals in for the, or they used to for the coder itself. This might be number 11's tower right here that they put their stock in, the storage tank. We're fairly close to number 11. You'll see they used a cement when they put number 11 in the late 60s, early 70s. We'll see it more as we get down here. Number 11's the only machine, I believe, that's running right now. They rebuilt it back in '02. We got some ducks right here on the shore. Right there. See? Eating bugs. They put this bridge in. You can see they use the 4-foot grindstones, and you can see the pins where they put them segments, you know, together. And the number 11 edition up here is all cement, all brick. You can see the top of it up there. This is probably a cooling water. It comes out of that pipe right there from number 11. Down the river here on our right, they got a slide here where they used to bring 4-foot pulp logs in on rail cars, and they'd do one car at a time, secure it to the track, and then they'd dump the rail on its side. You can see the brick building back is probably their engine room where they had their, you know, hydraulics and stuff, and they'd tip that train right on its side till all the wood slid off it down that slide and right into the river. All that wood that they were dumping in here, whether it was upstream or right here, all was heading to East Millinocket. The rivers years ago were used not only for sewers, but they used it to transport their wood. In the early 1800s, they transported tree length for saw logs for lumber for the growing, you know, cities and stuff in the United States, and then later on, as paper companies started popping up along the streams and whatnot, they started using it to transport pulp logs. Pulp log being a 4-foot stick of wood. These trains here on the side that are sitting on the rail are probably waiting to be filled with paper. They fill them with the finished product, all wrapped from number 11, and send them out, you know, points all over the United States. See all these caddisflies buzzing around the trees? I don't know if you can see them in the camera, but you see them with the eye. If you look, they're all right in around. That's what makes this such a good fishery, is all them bugs. Them bugs are coming off the water. They're caddisflies. They hatch up from the bottom, come up, and then they mate in around the trees and whatnot, come back and lay their eggs, and the life cycle starts all over again. But there's millions and millions and millions of caddisflies in this river. As you can see, look at them all up in there. There's just millions of them all in the trees there. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but there's just millions of them. Fish just jumped right there. This is what they call a tailwater. Tailwaters are waters that come out from underneath a house or a dam. And that grind room is actually acting like a dam. The water is coming from Ferguson Pond, which is 100 feet up in elevation. And what they did, the surveyor did 100 years ago, they walked through here without the aid of an airplane, and they looked at this elevation right here in this particular spot. They said, you know, this would be a perfect spot for a paper mill. And they started, you know, they got their financing and started, you know, importing people into the area and started building the mill. And they dug trenches from that grind room where them penstocks, where we sat and talked about the brickwork and whatnot. But from there, 100 feet up to Ferguson Pond, which is dammed off from, is made by Stone Dam, but that water drops 100 feet, and that's what spins them turbines that used to grind up pulp logs, but now generates electricity. So that acts like a dam. And what I was getting to is the caddisflies like cold water, and so don't fish. So the caddisflies thrive in this environment because the water is always a constant temperature, even in the wintertime. Because in summertime, the colder water is on the bottom of the lake, and that's where that water is coming from. It's being sucked from the bottom. And in the wintertime, it's just the opposite. Your warmer water is on the bottom of the lake. So the warmer water is coming off the bottom, and it's almost a constant temperature all the time, so the bugs and the aquatic insects thrive in this environment. Because with all the bugs, they feed the fish, and the fish thrive here. So this place is loaded with smallmouth bass. You get up around the grind room, and it's loaded right with salmon. I go in there in the evening and fish salmon all the time. It's a fish factory, I call it. It's one of the best kept secrets in the town of Millinocket. Way underutilized. Kurt said he see two osprey too, so there must be a pair around here as well, a pair of osprey.
Well, if there's osprey, there's fish.
Yeah, there's plenty of fish in here. Plenty of bass.
It's very shallow here, just outside of Shad Pond.
Shallow here, it gets deep. You can see how dark it is over there.
Oh yeah, towards the shore.
Comes right along the shore there. From Shad Pond, it comes along that shore, and it's going to start getting deeper over here, but pretty sandy in there around here. Last year I seen a moose down that side channel over there. There was a moose in there playing around. But that road comes along the dike from that pit, because they used to check they had a boom log across here, so it keeps the wood from flowing down that channel and push the wood to this channel. That's what all these
little islands are?
Yeah, the piers, they were boxed in with wood at one time, all rotted and gone now, but they had booms on them to keep the wood, you know, flowing into one main channel. That's a brand new pole line a couple of years ago. That's that Great Lakes Hydro tie line into the grid system. They put that in a couple of years ago. All these other ones over here are older, but that double pole one is their tie line they put in a couple of years ago. Ties them into the grid system so they can sell power on the open market instead of just supplying their mills. See how the river drops off? You can't see that the falls is right up, coming right up. Just, you know, they call it a falls. It's just kind of a little stair step down through there. It's not much of anything, but it makes a little.
Well, by definition,
yeah.
As long as there's a decrease in elevation,
Yeah.
it's a fall.
Yeah. And you can see that it's about a 3-foot decrease in elevation, but it drops in steps. It's not one big drop.
Sort of a cascading effect.
Yes, exactly. This is called Pond Falls, according to the map, or the Shad Pond Falls, some people may call it. On the map, it's called Pond Falls. eagles in the nest. Right up in that first pine tree, about 30 feet down. See him sit right on the top.
On the double pine tree thing?
Yeah, the double pine tree. He's in the one closest to the river. You can't see him now, but you come around and you'll see him. There's an eagle in that nest. Actually, they're both there. There goes one right there. The other one's still up there. The other one's going to take off now. There goes the other one.
I can't get him. There he is. Wow, that was great.
Let's spin around and take a look at the falls. All along this, the same side as that eagle's nest is the Ducks Unlimited's got a bunch of duck boxes in along the shore in there as well. They come in, a couple guys from Ducks Unlimited come in and check them in the spring and see if there's any nesting ducks in them. The eagles will probably come right back around, just beyond where we can see. And they'll come right back around, probably right, see if we, we didn't hang around their nest. They'll probably come right back around.
Oh, I guess I can see the nest.
Can you see it now? About 30 feet down from the top. Big bunch here.
Right in there. Wow, it's well camouflaged.
Oh, yeah. Wow, those two canoes fishing there yesterday, right almost practically underneath it. They didn't even know it was there. They pointed it out and kind of wish, sometimes you don't want to tell too many people. It just, eagles, they're fussy, we put the run to them just as far away, as we were.
Right.
And if they got chicks in there, you really don't want to, keep them away from the nest too long.
And again, there's a fine line between nature watching and harassing.
Right, exactly. Them guys that were over there fishing, they weren't harassing, they just didn't know that eagle's nest was there. But the eagles wouldn't come back to that nest while the people were there fishing. That's why I told them about the nest, and hoping they'd kind of
keep their distance.
And move away, but we didn't hang around to see if they were gone.
Again, you have a schedule, huh?
Yeah, I have a schedule, but it was our last trip down through anyways, but...
Wow, they couldn't have picked a nicer spot, could they have?
Right at the bottom of the falls. Plenty of fish in here probably for them.